so let me get a little closer. Okay, so you see what's behind me. It's a GR Corolla that I've had for like 40,000 so miles. I'm trying to get in close so y'all can understand what time it is. We're gonna talk about modifications, okay? I've had mine for like 40,000, a little bit over 40,000 miles, but I've been modified for a few little areas, not that much. I mean, you see the aesthetics, I'm pretty much just OEM plus, but I've done some things during that time. So if your family truly loved you, maybe you got a GR Corolla for Christmas, maybe you got a GR Corolla as a present for the holidays, or maybe you were just gifted one for your hard work that you gave to yourself. And maybe you're wondering, what modification should I do? I heard about intakes, I heard about exhaust, I heard about this, I heard about that. What have you done? What have I done? What should you do? I'm gonna give you a quick little rundown of some of the modifications I think are the best to do on the GR Corolla. Let's go. All right, let's just start this off with one of the easiest things to talk about. That is an intake. So I have an MST performance intake. I have version 2. That's what you see right here, this big shroud and everything that's connected to it. Now, I did do this before. See, I had the version 1 and now I went to version 2. So I'm a pretty good expert on the MST performance intake and why I chose this one. But why would you choose the intake in general? Why do you want one? Why do you want to get one? Sound is one of them. Sound is a very big thing when it comes to turbo cars, because let's be honest, we like to hear the turbo whooshes, the spooling, the bypass valve, all that stuff we want to hear. I've talked about this intake before. This is nothing new, okay? I've talked about this. I have a video I shot. I did a sound comparison. I did the entire thing. So if you want to see that, check these videos up here. I got it floating in the sky. The whole thing about the MST intake, but why I'm talking to you is to give you some guidance. What should you get? So I have version 2. There's a version 1. I'm gonna throw it up on the screen. There's multiple other intakes that you can get for this car. Now, which one should you get is a question that comes up a lot. Intakes from K&N, Engine, Busher Racing, Inventory, Group M, and the list goes on and on and on. Almost all of those intakes are gonna at least do what you want them to do, and that is give you cooler sound, better airflow, and they will give you some performance. Now, what am I talking about when I say performance? Okay, because we get into the weeds of this. If you're thinking about horsepower gains, just be realistic. You're thinking about 9 to 15 horsepower, somewhere at the top rev range, 6,500 RPMs. You're not getting anything crazy. You're not getting 20 and 30 horsepower. If anybody's telling you that, I would take that with a heavy bag of salt, not a grain, a bag of salt. But let me tell you something. An intake will give you some more power. So we're not just saying it's zero, there will be something there. Now, another benefit. Now, obviously on mine, I have an entire shroud, and why I talk about this one. So let me just be honest. My bias is gonna be towards the MST version 2 because that's what I have on the car. Your bias might be to whatever one that you want, okay? And that's okay. You pick the one that you want to pick. But let me tell you why. I personally love any intake that includes a shroud like this that connects to the intake box that also gives you air coming in through this portion right here. You see on my hand wind that comes over the engine cover into the back where the turbo is to help cool off this area because this engine does get hot. No dirt, water is going to get in there, especially if those people have a circuit hood that have the vents on them. They worry about open element intakes and water getting to them. The piping and everything is larger, 3 inches, that goes all the way back to the turbo, and there's another part there that we're going to talk about. But the main thing I like the most is the finish. This looks as if it came from the factory. Granted, there's a big MST logo right there, but as far as the plastic and how it looks compared to the OEM one, it all matches well. Now I'm gonna be frank, that's not something everybody's gonna be like, ooh, that's a cool feature, I really want that. Some people are gonna look at me and say, man, who cares? But let's just say what I just talked about when it comes to MST and Engine and Inventory and all these big aftermarket companies like HKS and these big intakes and shrouds. Maybe you don't want any of that. Maybe you're a person that's like, I want this as close to OEM but with some added benefit. There's an option. See, I don't have my factory air box on here, but envision a factory air box on a GR Corolla, and the very top piece that comes off, you can get a Forged Motorsports intake that basically just replaces that cover with larger piping that goes back into the turbo area, or you can run the OEM box with a kit from Blitz, which is just larger piping for better airflow back into the turbo. Everything else remains completely stock and OEM. Another thing, this is all personal preference as far as the companies and the intakes that we get, right? All of them are doing something that come from reputable companies, right? I'm not saying the backyard mechanic or your homeboy that finally figured out how to bend aluminum is making you intakes and they're gonna perform. There is engineering involved with this. Everything isn't just throw on a bigger pipe and everything's gonna be good. So understand that too. Reputable companies are making quality parts, like the companies I mentioned, Engine, K&N, Eventory, MST, HKS. There's a variety of them. Follow those companies that have a history of making intakes for performance-related cars and buy an intake from them. Now, we gotta have a little bit of a discussion. Something that, you know, let me move you all over here, get some better lighting. It may not be the conversation we wanna have, but the conversation you have to have. That is about the check engine light, okay? So if you are new to the world of GR Corollas, you're gonna research stuff on the Facebook forums and the Facebook groups, or you're gonna go onto the forums online and you're gonna check into YouTube videos, like mine included, and you're gonna find out about this thing called a check engine light. Not if you're new to cars, this ain't your first time hearing about a check engine light, what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is when you put an intake on a GR Corolla, there was a known thing where everybody's gonna check engine light, a PC290, I believe, or 0290, whatever it may be. I'm correcting the number. But it was coming up when they put on an intake. Now, before we say you shouldn't have touched the car, leave it alone and everything will be fine. Listen, I'm from the old school way of I want to modify and change things out. That's just the way it is. We take the good with the bad. But this is all good. This isn't really bad. It's more of an inconvenience, okay? That's why the check engine light is yellow. It's not red like an oil light, which is like, bro, turn it off. Here's what you need to do. Every single intake basically right now has some CEL fix, which is basically piping, vacuum hose, not piping, I'll say a rubber hose, vacuum hose that is rerouting the PCV, the air coming into the vacuum lines to tell the PCV valve, the system and all that, that everything is A-OK and all that new air coming in at a high rate of speed isn't a problem, which is why the check engine light was coming on. It's just like, hold up, a lot of air is moving in faster than I'm used to. Something has to be wrong, but really it's just because you put on a performance intake. 6 Element makes one, Eventory has one, and I made a whole video installing the one from MST Performance right here. Let me just show it to you. Pop this little engine cover off right quick so y'all can understand what I'm talking about. If you look right here, you see a little T-fitting that's connected to some vacuum lines. These vacuum lines are connected to the sensor for the PC valve system, and there's another one back there, and there's another hose that goes all the way down to the turbo inlet. And what all this does is read into the ECU to tell it that everything is coming into the air and the chambers, everything correctly. However, because you remove certain ones, like if you look right here, you see one that's capped off, that was from the OEM T-fitting, and we reroute it differently so that it doesn't read this and think there's an error. And let me say, I'm not an engineer. I'm just recalling the information I read. I could be wrong on certain little details, but the overall gist of everything, that whole little kit that MST sent me, which is just rerouting the vacuum lines, that works. No check engine light. And if you want to go the ultimate route of no check engine light when it comes to an intake, if you tune in with a company like EcuTech, it's gone. And it's not that you're ignoring a problem. You're just telling the computer, listen, it's okay. We put more air in there. It's all right. That's all you're doing. Don't think that I'm ignoring some problem and later on you're gonna blow up an engine or something, because that's just ridiculous. It's not gonna happen. We got another part to talk about. Let's talk about the turbo inlet. Try to get you in there quick and easy. Hold up, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. I don't know if you can see the light, but you see this right here. You probably can't see it because it's like kind of dark down there and that part's dusty. But there is like a rubber hose piece that you can see if you look down there pretty closely that goes all the way down to the turbo area down there. Now, man, the engine's hot. Here's the thing. I gotta zoom out a little bit. I was all in the grill. I shot a video on this. It's right here. Okay, that video was on the turbo inlet from 6 Element that I put on this car. Now, why would you want to do such a thing? First of all, let me back up, because I'm in my own grill and it's not that serious. Okay, back better. Why do you want to do something like this? Let me give you a little shot of the car while I'm talking, so you don't just have to look at my beautiful face. Okay, let me kind of preface a couple things. I'm talking about something that is beyond just the intake now. The turbo inlet, which is this part from here from 6 Element that I put on, also Forge Motorsports makes one. OTL Performance is gonna make their own as well too. I don't know when it's coming out, but they're making one as well. What this does is, the intake is improving the airflow coming in. The turbo inlet meets up with the OEM one, and that turbo inlet gets replaced from an aftermarket one, which helps bring all that air flowing into the turbo as efficiently and speedy as possible. That is a non-engineer technical way of saying it. All I'm doing is cleaning up the path. Helps increase the throttle response, helps increase the performance you get. Now, by itself, does it give you some horsepower changes? What I've read is somewhere between like 5 and 10 horsepower. Now, does it stack on top of the intake that by itself is doing around that number to get you like 20? I don't really think so. I would say altogether, if you put those two together, you might be around the 13 horsepower, maybe to 15 or 16 at the very top. But what it does give you is the efficiency of the air and the throttle response and how the turbo is spooling even cleaner. I don't know if you're gonna be able to understand or see where this is, but very far deep down in the crevices, there is a downpipe from MST Performance, and you can kind of see it shining back there in the distance. Now, I'm not gonna go try to deep dive myself into the catacombs back there to kind of see where this is coming from, because ultimately I shot a video on this right here. If you don't know a theme, listen, if you haven't been checking my channel, like and subscribe, I've been hitting y'all with the footages, okay, of multiple modifications. So I've been doing my part for the community. Please help your boy out to continue the journey. Anyways, downpipes, let's talk about it. I have an MST Performance downpipe. Now, honestly, I'm gonna set you up on this. I'm sick of holding this camera. Now, honestly, what I will say is this. There is an argument that the downpipe that I have from MST, and I'm gonna get you down to the engine. There is an argument that the downpipe I have from MST is a glorified high flow cat. Because if you see it right here, I get it. I'm not even gonna knock it. Now, when I say with my setup, I'm running a different mid pipe that connects to the downpipe, running the same 3-inch spacing going all the way out to the exhaust. Other companies are doing most of this in one piece. So you got OTL, you have Busher Racing, you have a gentleman in Austin called Dream Maker Goods. He makes amazing stuff. If you want to support a local person or a fabricator, call that guy. So there's one-piece downpipes that are available for this car that basically, and I'll throw a picture of one up, they basically come from the back of the turbo all the way down through the mid pipe of the OEM one and meet up with the exhaust in the rear. A downpipe is one of the biggest upgrades you can do to the car as far as a performance mod goes. That is a bolt-on situation. Now, here's what I talk about a little bit of the controversy, and some people are gonna read this and hear and get into my comments and tell me I don't know what the heck I'm talking about and so on. Oh, fine, go ahead. But I'm telling you, is when I put on this MST Performance downpipe, I noticed an immediate difference in throttle response, power, and top end immediately. And as I kept going, I was able to feel it even more. And why am I saying that? Why would you want to change a downpipe? That is for the gain of the most horsepower when you tune the car, and that is where you're going to get the most of it. And that is the biggest modification you're going to do. An exhaust on this car is really more so about sound. Compared with the downpipe, it does have its benefits, but by itself, it ain't really doing much for you at all. But let me talk about tuning. I didn't talk about this because I wanted to like get, just to speak on something. There is a unique thing about the GR Corolla. You may hear about it, you may not. Don't take my word for it. My word's backed up by factuals, okay? I talked to the gentleman at Ecotech for a long conversation at SEMA, and they asked me, I asked them actually, does this ECU on the GR Corolla have some learning capability? The reason why I'm saying that is because when I put this downpipe on, I didn't tune the car yet. I've been running it for thousands of miles just with the downpipe, and I have literally felt the difference of how this car is performing before and after the fact. And they qualified that. They said, yes, the ECU will actually do some learning, a small amount. We're not talking nothing major, but it will actually make learning of this car as you put on parts. And here is why this is dope and why it does matter. None of this stuff is cheap. I'm talking about $400, to $1,200 intakes. I'm talking about downpipes that start from $700, $800 all the way up to $1,300 or $1,400. We're talking about high quality parts costing high quality money. And so if anybody is trying to modify this car, sometimes the apprehension against doing stuff on a GR Corolla is the fact that you think that if you add something to this motor, that you have to tune it right away or be on the side of the road. But that's not the case here. The reason why I like that feature and why I want to highlight it in this video is to let any owner know, whether you got a 2023, a 24, or 25 GR Corolla, is that if you decide to throw a bolt-on modification to this car and you have to wait, you have time. And why do you have to wait? The best, easiest tuning option you're going to hear about outside of the standalone things like Motec or Link ECU is EcuTech, which is more of a piggyback type system, but a very high quality and very well-known one that is used across multitude of GR Yaris's and GR Corollas. We're not the only people doing this, and I'm not blazing my own trail. So that alone, to get that particular, I don't know what my man was dragging on the floor, but it was under that Mercedes-Benz and it ain't sounding healthy. But an EcuTech ECU tuning modification or program is about $1,200. So if you've been buying downpipes and buying an intake, a turbo inlet on the low end is around $200. So think about $200 to $300. If you bought all those pieces together, you're breezing on $3,000, $3,500, if not more. Not everybody just has that ready to go to put towards the car. So if you're thinking, what's the most bang for buck? What's the best thing I can do? I'm gonna say intake and downpipe. The turbo inlet is like an added piece for the efficiency and the spooling and the response time of the turbo and the throttle response, but it's not the main thing I would say to do first if you're having to make a choice. But when you do those modifications, here's the good thing. You don't have to worry about tuning the car right away. Now, when you do tune it, the benefit is that you'll get all the power and the performance that you've paid for at its fullest potential. But in case you're wondering, don't take my word for it. You can go email the people at EcuTech and ask if, hey, you talked to this dude at SEMA and he said X, Y, and Z. They may remember it, they probably won't. But it's backed up. So fret not. Throw the bolt-ons on, drive the car. Circle back around to EcuTech for the tuning and be on your way. Now let's talk about the front mount. Now if you get a little closer to this car, you'll notice the factory front mount intercooler sitting right there. And obviously it's doing its job because this car comes with 300 horsepower from the factory. So don't think that it can't handle what it's throwing out, because it can, and it's doing it well. But front mount intercooler. See, the front mount intercooler is on this car one of the biggest bonuses to help cooling the car down and gaining power, because the factory front mount intercooler can get heat soaked by the heat that this little turbo motor generates, because it's a small displacement, high PSI, high boost, high red line. So when you run this car hard, you're on the back roads, you're on the track, or you're driving it hard, wherever it may be, it's gonna at some point get hot, and this intercooler is gonna show itself to be heat soaked. So the intercooler upgrade is another excellent option. What options do we have here? I'm gonna show you the car. We got OEM one. You also have Jackson Racing, CSF, you got 6 Elements, you got Forge Motorsports, you have OTL Performance, and that ain't all. There's multiple other ones. There's Hypertune, there's PWR. The ones that I mentioned all are gonna help benefit the cooling of the car, and it's gonna help benefit a couple things. One, more horsepower up top, that's guaranteed. Better throttle response, guaranteed, because you're dealing with better airflow. And the way you get that, charge pipes. Now I have an OEM intercooler on mine still, and the charge pipes, but I have shot videos of a charge pipe and from my intercooler from 6 Elements. So again, check the channel, because I'm in the streets with my friends and I'm handling business. But the charge pipes alone, you see them right here, from OTL, from 6 Element. Those charge pipes, the airflow going to the turbo, faster, more efficient, quicker, better throttle response, better performance, better efficiency. All these things combined together. Now, it's another part that you don't have to tune the car right away if you throw it on. You can throw it on and you will feel the benefits of it right away. When you tune it, out of there. But I'm saying that because some people need time. Not everybody's just gonna roll into the shop at like limit 1 and just be like, hey, do it. Call me back when it's done. Others have that ability. But for those like myself that gotta piece this together, then you know you have some time. Now, you know, if I'm in the back, what I'm doing. I'm here to talk about the exhaust, okay? And what it's doing. I have a 6-element exhaust on my car. But let me just, before I show you what I have and talk about what I've shot, let me just say this. Exhausts are incredibly subjective, okay? Everybody has their own opinion. You got some people that want loud. They want this thing to scream, and they want to turn it on, make their neighbors mad, and get to work. You got others that want subtlety. You got others like myself that want kind of somewhere in the middle. I do like just have an aggressive tone when it's time to get on it. And I do like to have a little bit of extra sound, but I don't want to be obnoxious. So just understand that what I like and what you like is subjective, and all the exhausts that I'll name as examples are high quality ones that you should consider. Listen to videos, you can listen to mine, but let's just talk about what I got. 6-element dual exhaust, little blue tip stainless steel tips on there, high quality exhaust. I love the way it sounds, and I shot a video on it. Installed the sound. I even did one after I put on the, after this exhaust, I already had the downpipe on. Like I told you, link in the description, okay? When it comes to the videos that I've shot on this car. Other Japanese companies have made plenty of exhausts for this car as well too. So you have an option. You don't have to really follow what I'm doing here or anybody else is doing. You have an option to do what you like and what you like the sound to be like. So find it. Here's what I can't show you. I wish I could, but I talked previously about a 2J Racing mid-pipe. You probably heard me sprinkle it in there. Let me talk about the mid-pipe. If you decide not to do a downpipe, if you're just like, I'm not doing that, I'll do a intercooler, I'll do an intake, I'll do the charge pipes, and I'll tune the car with those modifications, and I'll do an exhaust, you most likely will made it up to the factory mid-pipe. But if you want a little bit more sound, I stand by the 2J Racing resonated mid-pipe for a variety of reasons. One, the gauge of stainless steel he uses produces a better sound for the resonance. The resonator on there makes it sound amazing. I got videos of me just putting on that mid-pipe on a stock exhaust and how it sounded. So if you're a person that's like, I want a little bit more sound, but I do not want to get aftermarket exhaust, do not sleep on the 2J Racing resonated mid-pipe. I got a video of me what it sounds like on there, so check it out. Again, I've been in the game handling my biz. Go check it out. And you may like that sound better. You may decide, I don't need no exhaust. I just need the mid-pipe and the factory OEM exhaust, but I want the other mods. Just keep that in mind. Let's talk about interior modifications that you can do. Inexpensive, quick, greatly improve the driving experience when you're driving the car. Shift knobs. Obviously, this is a very aggressive height on a shift knob. This is not everybody's taste. This is my taste. I wanted it. Shout out to my man over at Symbiosis who built this for me, a weighted, taller shift knob. But the main thing that's under here is a Billetworks short shifter. Again, I've been through Forge Motorsports short shifter, Racer X short shifter, which is still installed, and the Billetworks short shifter. All three of those options, excellent. Forge Motorsports being the most inexpensive way to shorten these throws to be something that is much shorter like I like. So if you like this direct short shift like I have here, then this is one of the best options. Now this is Billetworks paired with a Racer X short shifter, 2-in-1. A video is on that as well. Check the video and the screenshots. Now, here's what you can do. Obviously a shift knob, there are companies like We Are Likewise that make reverse lockouts that change out. Like the one I have here is not the OEM one. This is from Billetworks. Their short shifter system is something that you can install well. If you want to just work, if you don't want to do the intricate detail that I had to do on my install for this one, you can do something that's more in the front of the car that just deals with the short shifter on top of the transmission. Is much easier to install. That's a very good option for drivability. Another one, you see where my elbow was at. Unfortunately, we've already talked about this. The GR Corolla does not come with an armrest. Some people, it's not a problem. Others, like myself, they want an armrest. 6-element makes an armrest. It's a great option. It's worked well for me. Let me just preface a couple things. No, it is not an OEM level of installation and stability when it comes to an armrest. You should already know that. This is not, Toyota didn't include an armrest. Who knows why? But if you just need a solution that integrates as OEM as you can, then this is the best option that there is. And at least somebody tried to give it something, because other than this, nobody else has bothered trying it. You can retrofit a console in here that has a armrest from a Corolla One gentleman did it. It takes a lot of work, so just keep that in mind. If you really care about short shifting, like I do, if you want to shorten these throws, you got options. Racer X, Forge Motorsports, Billetworks, and then there's one more option that's even further. You got Coolerworx and K shifters. Those are those aggressive, large, self-centering, motorsport styled shifters. I'm certain that I'll end up there at some point in time. Right now I'm cool with Billetworks, but I'm gonna be honest, I've driven and been in cars that have them, and soon enough there's probably gonna be some K shifter here in due time. Let's just say you're like, what about a dash cam or something? I got you. This guy right here, this is a WOLFBOX G900 Pro, and you're probably like, that looks like a rearview mirror. You're mistaken. That is actually an entire rear view camera screen and dash cam from WOLFBOX, as you can see. And I did a whole video. See the rear, you can see the little parking lot behind me. If I go to the front, you can see the hood open right there. If I swipe up even more, you can see that. All this shows you guiding, where you're going, the speed, the time, GPS location, 4K in the front, 2.5K in the back. I'll just say this, I like the WOLFBOX one. There are, man, there's so many. Like, let me just be honest. There are a multitude of dash cams to use. That is more like a safety thing. Some people don't really care for dash cams, but I mean, in this day and age, I don't care what city you live in, somebody's gonna do something foolish in front of you. You may need to record it and send it to the proper authorities. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, that is a good dash cam. Check my video, check the link. You can save 18% on there if you really wanted to go get one, okay? Just don't say I never hooked you up. All right, let's talk aesthetics. My car is basically, I'm gonna get you a little bit in the shot right there. My car is basically OEM plus. I didn't do much, but I did do a video on what I added, a few little things on there. That right there, as you can see, hold on, that right there, that is the OEM Circuit Edition wing. There are other wings that you could get. I don't know how good they are, because really, between Epson, they make a wing. SAR Japan makes a wing. Who else makes one? There's a XSE one from the OEM Toyota factory. They make a wing. I'll be honest, personally, I think that's the best looking wing right now. Sabre Design makes one as well too, but they're not really to my taste, so to speak. So I just kind of stick with that one. Now, I also added some Rockbox mud flaps, and I added a front lid from Aeroflow, but let me show you that in person. Let's just say you're trying to add a little bit of some added touches to the car. You'll notice I don't have any side skirt extensions, no rear spats, no diffuser, but there are ones out there that you can get. But I did add a couple things. That was like the Rockbox mud flaps. I got the splash guards, which are smaller. Now, they have larger mud flaps that come out much wider. I'm not necessarily a fan of those all the time, but certain looks, it does work. And then if you look in the front, I have the mud flaps up there too. The well-designed visors on the window. There are OEM ones from the factory, from Toyota. I prefer the look of these because they make their way all the way down to this point right here. That is just a personal preference. The OEM ones from Toyota are just as good, and they're high quality as well. And there's some ones from Japan if you want to spend $180 on some window visors. Not me. The piece that made the biggest difference from the aggressive nature of this car, and it's a simple front lip from Aeroflow Dynamics. Now, I already cracked mine and chipped it. You just don't see a piece of tape there, but I'll change it out later to something else. There is Sabre Design. There is Veris Engineering, that is more like a splitter for racing. There is EOS, there's Grow, there's now HKS, they're in there. I will say this though, and I'm a critique of this all the time, is that I wish there was a little bit more options. We got Veris, we have SARD, we have Artisan Spirits, but it's just not enough of like medium aggression. There's either like Pandem wide body, too subtle like Vertex, and you can't even tell you put something on there, or it's Artisan Spirits and it costs too much money for what it looks like. And then there's really nothing else that's like as that like proper aggression. As I'm shooting this, HKS released a front lip for this car that I'm really feeling, and it adds some aggression to it. And like I said before, I know the way this car looks, according to my other videos, I should have been had wheels, I should have been lowered, I should have been had coilovers, but you guess what? Life's, okay? But I'll get there, don't worry. Now, what are some options if you wanted to lower the car? If you want to go the inexpensive route, quick and easy, get it done, lowering springs. There's ones from Swift, there's Eibach, there's H&R, high quality lowering springs. Why didn't I go that route, you ask? I personally don't want to put lowering springs on stock struts, stock shocks, because eventually, ultimately, what will happen, as always happens, is that they'll fail and it'll ride rough, and then I have to go to get coilovers. Now, coilovers is a whole nother bag, and there's high quality, there's mid-grade, and there's ones you should not get. Like, you'll see Megan Racing GR Corolla coilovers. Don't do it. Okay, the car, you spend a certain amount of money on the car, it's a high performance sport compact, don't play yourself. Then you have things like Öhlins at the top, HKS, Annex suspension. Those are very high quality. Maybe that's overkill. Maybe you want like BC Racing. Maybe you want something kind of in the middle like Silvers. There are options. Revel from Tanabe, there's TN, they're like kind of in the middle. And you have options to try out. Now, the only problem with coilovers when it comes to the GR Corolla community is that there aren't too many people that have done a variety of different kinds. I'm hoping to try to pick an option that not everybody has chosen. I'm probably gonna end up with something that is known and just do a longer video on it. But if you're looking for a coilover, like a list of them that everybody has gone through and tested, it's gonna be kind of hard. But the companies that you should look at, if you're really looking for a high quality, Annex suspension, Öhlins, HKS Hypermax, extremely high quality. And I installed the Hypermax on a friend's car, did a video on that, and I test drove it. So I can stand by those because they feel and they perform amazing. All right, there you have it. That is CarQuicks' little rundown on some of the best modifications you can do to a GR Corolla. Now, no, it's not a comprehensive list of all the modifications you can do. I'm telling you the few things that I've done and why I think they're good and why they work well. You can make a decision on other things. Aesthetics is probably the most robust because everybody's style and what they like and what they want to do, it just keeps going. But like I said, if you want different front lip, if you want wide body, if you want different lighting, all those things are available for the car. The performance side of it, all those companies, high quality. Check out my other videos. I've been shooting videos and I have more to come. This is not it. So check out the other videos, all the things I've done on the car and the modifications. Join the journey. I'll be back. I got another video in the works, but I just want to give y'all something before the year ended. Like I always say, do as you wish and do as you may. Check out the podcast. I'm out. Peace.